Hey everybody, I hope y'all are having an amazing day today. And before we get into this, I want you guys to know that Character War does not own any of the songs, images, videos, or GIFs seen in this video. All of it belongs to the respective owner and respective producer of the song, image, or video, or GIF, whatever you may see. All of this is used for education, research, and just having a good time. So I want you to know I'm not trying to steal or harm any form of content. And with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy Miles Morales versus Deku. Hey everybody, I hope y'all are having an amazing day today. My name is Mercer and welcome back to another episode of Character War. And today on Character War, we have two characters who are literally successors to two legendary heroes. I'm talking about Miles Morales, the next Spider-Man from Earth 1610 versus Izuku Midoriya, Deku, or the next All Might from My Hero Academia. So, who wins this fight? Well, why don't we see for ourselves? Miles Morales was once your average kid dealing with average issues. His father was a cop, his mother was a medic, and his uncle had a very unique and criminalistic profession, being a super criminal thief, and otherwise known as the Prowler. And he had access to the Alchemax spider, or the same spider that gave Peter Parker his superpowers. But the problem was, Spider-Man, or Peter Parker on that Earth, was dead. And eventually Aaron died as well, or Uncle Aaron, or the Prowler, died as well. And you're probably wondering what happens next. What happened to the Alchemax spider? Well, when Aaron was still alive, Miles went over to his apartment to hang, and the spider snuck onto him, and you guessed it, bit him, which gave him the same abilities as Peter Parker on that Earth, and a little bit more. With help from a number of other mentors, including Peter himself and Nick Fury after he was assigned to help with S.H.I.E.L.D., Miles became the next 1610 hero. He became the next 1610 Spider-Man, and with great reasoning, as Miles has a number of unique abilities that differentiates him from other Spider people. But like other Spider people, Miles has superhuman levels of strength, speed, durability, and agility, and he has a number of other unique abilities that differentiates him from Spider-Men or Spider people like Peter, Gwen, or a number of other characters. For one, he does have the same agility and durability as Peter Parker. He's very able to he can stick to walls and climb, run at superhuman levels of speed, and can climb for long periods of time using his web crawling ability. Wall crawling, sorry. And he has his own version of the web shooters, much like any other spider person you can name in all of the Spider-Verse. For one, he has, of course, they can extend a long distance, they can fire in different bolts to secure a landing, and they can create a nice web fluid through between his arm to allow for gliding. And he, of course, has the Spider Sense. The Spider Sense, well, like I covered in my last Spider-Person video, can easily allow Miles, Peter, or any other Spider-Person to sense or incoming threat nearby, almost like a sixth sense. And this is very helpful when he's fighting opponents like Venom, Electro, or the Rhino, even though technically Venom can escape the Spider Sense. So, well, we'll get into that in a different video. Miles does have two other unique abilities, though. His camouflage ability, which allows him to turn completely invisible for a different and short amount of time, and can get away from it and blend in for silent infiltration missions. And in my opinion, his more helpful ability, the Venom Shock. The Venom Shock allows Miles to dissipate and control electricity at a powerful rate. He can spread it across the area, shoot it in a microscopic bolt, mix it in with his web crawling and his web fluid, attack in his palms, and even defeated Electro with one of his Venom Shocks, a being made of complete pure electricity. He can even fire it out like a bolt of energy in a fast projectile. That is awesome and rad. Miles has certainly proved himself as an amazing and inspirational for outside people who don't read comics as a Spider-Man. He has a number of interesting abilities and has a number of good experience to go toe-to-toe with some of his rogues like Kingpin, Electro, Rhino, and even some tough opponents like Venom. He stopped Electro with a single bolt of electricity, And Electro, as seen in Electro versus Black Lightning, can cause a 6,470-ton explosion in the Raft, a high-security prison. He's obviously capable of lifting cars, trucks, and large boulders, thanks to being, a spider person. And he can even take a hit and be thrown by Cassie Lang, literally their version of Ant-Man in the Young Avengers. Miles has certainly proved himself as an amazingly powerful spider person. He's obviously fast enough to keep up with Peter and a number of other spider people, and he even one time beat Peter in combat. Classic Spider-Man. This proves that Miles may just be a better, or physically wise, not, wise, than Spider-Man. And Spider-Man can lift an 130-ton crusher, as seen in Spider-Man vs. Blue Beetle. Sorry if that was a little late. And Spider-Man can also dodge beams of light, and Miles can certainly do the same, as he's a bit more agile than Peter. He can even restrain the Hulk, a being made of pure strength. I think that we've already tackled before on the show, very early on. I wouldn't recommend watching the video, though. Miles has certainly proved himself as an amazing hero. Not just one of inspiration to outside points, but to one from inside to comic book points as well. Miles has certainly proved himself to be the next Spider-Man. In the world of My Hero Academia, quirks or superpowers are abundant and can give people different abilities throughout genes, and oftentimes can make people superheroes based on their choice. But some people are unlucky and don't have a quirk. Such was the case with Izuku Midoriya. Izuku was constantly harassed and bullied because he did not have a quirk by one of his main bullies, Katsuki Bakugo, until eventually luck found his way. Until eventually he met his hero, the symbol of peace, All Might. All Might's power was a bit unique, and Izuku always looked up to him, even striving to be a great hero one day. But that dream was cancelled considering that he did not have a quirk of his own. However, All Might's quirk was a bit different. It was, instead of being a born with quirk, it was a quirk that was passed down from generation to generation. It was called One for All. And One for All needed to be passed down as All Might was dying from an attack from one of his main villains, All for One. And in order to stop All for One, All Might would need to pass it down to a person he believed he could be better. And when Deku saved a person without even having a quirk, All Might saw great things in his future. He saw that he could be a hero. And so he did. At training at UA Academy, he became the hero, Deku. And he certainly has much to prove. Deku seems to have a problem with controlling the quirk sometimes, even going all out and hurting himself in the process. But he's learned to control it a lot better. I mean, if he uses too much of One for All, he could possibly break and even damage his bones permanently. But when he uses a unique ability, Deku has this amazing strength, speed, and durability as well. This power is great, and it gives him amazing levels of power. And if he uses far too much of it, he could possibly break his own bones, as seen in My Hero Academia. That's why he intensely trains every day to constantly improve throughout his body. And if he does use too much, he can cause nausea in his bones, and if he permanently does too much, he could shatter his bones, which is really damaging to him. But he's learned to regulate and control him as well. In his one of his most powerful attacks, the Detroit Smash. Based on All Might's own Detroit Smash, this thing is massive, able to cause massive damage. And in the Delaware Smash, he flicks highly condensed air that moves at the speed of light, yes, I'm not kidding, and can easily break through some of Shoto Todoroki's ice walls, which are massive and can even be compared to large stadiums. And in his ultimate attack, where he combines both, the Delaware Detroit Smash, where he punches someone so hard, then flicks them out of his hand at a massively powerful rate. This thing was super helpful as it helped stop the main villain, Muscular. Not the main villain, one of his villains that he's encountered. It even caused a large dent in a mountain. But when he wants to control One for All at a more powerful rate, he can easily use an ability that he came up with called Full Cowling, where he shrouds One for All throughout his body and regulates the amount he uses. Instead of at 100%, he uses 10 to 15 to 5%, which means that he doesn't hit with full force, but still enough force to cause some powerful damage, including in his ability, the St. Louis Smash, where he drop kicks someone so hard, he smashes the earth around them, like he did with the villain, Gentle Criminal. This thing was super strong and powerful, and with his new ability, Shoot Style, he uses his legs more than his arms. as his legs are now having iron implanted in them to do far more damage, and his arms are regulated so that they don't too much break while he's punching at a more powerful rate. And he has arm cannons to when he uses his Delaware Smash at a more smaller rate, he can create highly condensed air bullets, which was super impressive to stop the villain Gentle Criminal. And with these new air bullets and a number of other powers, Deku has, of course, a super form. And this super form is called One for All Full Cow 100%, where he shrouds 100% of One for All throughout his entire body, creating a massive level of power throughout. Though he can't fully control this ability and needed Ares' help to regulate it, let's say, it's a super awesome power. And he even allowed him to stop the villain Overhaul, send him up into the air, and smash him down with a ton of force that could level an entire city. Deku is super powerful. And this isn't the end here. Like many One For All users, since it's a quirk that's passed down from generation to generation, Deku has somewhat inherited other heroes' quirks, their natural quirks in One For All. He's inherited the Danger Sense, which allows him to use a sixth sense, almost like Spider-Man's Spider Sense, and he can use Float, which allows him to fly at a slower rate or hover for short periods of time. And he can finally use his final ability, Black Whip, which allows him to extend two and almost powerful amounts of whips, which he can use and mix with his superhuman level of strength to toss around cars and even large amounts of pillars and basically almost anything you can think of. This is super powerful, but let's take a look at some awesome feats to begin with. For one, we know Deku is super comparable to fellow classmate Katsuki Bakugo, and even still, Bakugo can move super fast, as he can put explosions in his hands. And Deku is super comparable, as his smashes are almost very similar to Bakugo's planetary level explosions. That is redonkulously awesome. And Deku, of course, can even go toe-to-toe with Bakugo and scale to the lightning dodging feat that Bakugo once performed. Basically, he fought Tokoyami. Tokoyami intercepted Dinka Kaminari's lightning bolts, and Bakugo is very similar to that, which puts Deku at the same speed, as seen in Tokoyami vs. Shikamaru. And his full cow is very similar to Tenya Iida's Recipro Burst. The Recipro Burst can easily go past and exceed Mach 13. And he can break Shoto Todoroki's ice walls, which are very similar to Colosseum-level ice walls and are massively powerful. Deku obviously can go to toe with even some villains, like Muscular, Gentle Criminal, and Stain, all of which is crazy tough. And he can even do some consistent damage to All Might as well. Deku is a powerhouse and has certainly proved himself as a hero. Obviously, he is very much capable of leaping between buildings at his highest and shattering apart large metal crate objects like he did with that giant robot in the third episode. He obviously can do the same to Muscular and did some very consistent damage and knocked him into a building. And he fights with broken bones all the time. Deku is a powerhouse, if you know what I'm saying. And he certainly proved himself as a successor to All Might. He's not only a hero outside, being super strong, but he's a hero inside, as he has a great heart, and he's a great successor. He is Deku. So who wins this fight? Well, for starters, it was so close, and you'll probably be surprised for the winner. But let's just, if you support the other character. Deku obviously can lift an I-beam, which is massively powerful, and he can even go toe-to-toe and prove massive damage in large Earth-like structures. Miles can lift large cars, large boulders, and even go into truck levels. And he can take a hit from the massive Ant-Man successor, Cassie Lang, who could do massive damage upon Earth. Deku, obviously the steel I-beam, I did do some calculations on it. We know how much Miles' weights are, as a car is generally pretty easy to calculate. Normally, police cars weigh around 2 tons, and trucks can lift around 10 tons at their max. But let's take a look at the I-beam. A steel I-beam like the one that Deku lifted is very comparable to many I-beams, as they're normally pretty comparable to each other, and can compare. When looking at the weight for a steel I-beam, some can go around to even at least 1 ton, or 2,000 pounds. Yes, this is impressive, and Deku did struggle to lift this at first, and this was only around 10% of his power, and the St. Louis Smash could be estimated to be the same, as it does do a pretty massive crater, but Miles can lift around 3,500 to 4,000 to 2 tons. Surprisingly puts him at a stronger feat. The reason I say surprisingly is because I didn't expect it at first. Miles obviously can compare to Peter, which puts him at 130 tons. But I compared All Might to Peter a lot, which I must say, All Might is much stronger. But Miles has beaten Peter in combat, so that's why I was surprised about who is stronger. Obviously, we know in movement speed, I do believe Deku probably has it, as he can match Tenya Ida's Recipro Burst, which puts at 130. And his reaction times can get into the lightning, as we do know Tokoyami is comparable to Bakugo, and Bakugo is super comparable to Deku. Obviously, this is true. But the laser dodging, which are constantly beams of light from this villain, would be put around light speed, which is much consistently faster than a bolt of lightning. And I must say, this is very much impressive, but Miles's Cassie Lang feat when he took a hit from her, that should be very much greater than the fight when Deku took hits from Muscular. But you're probably wondering, all the big My Hero Academia fans out there, what about everybody's favorite giant villain from My Hero Academia, Gigantomachia? While Gigantomachia is technically scalable to Deku, it's not at a full rate. For one, we do know that Deku at 100% isn't even consistently scalable to All Might. So even if he did attack with 100% on Miles, it wouldn't do a full amount of damage. It would do a ton more damage than his normal 10%, but it wouldn't do enough to put him at a large, drastic distance. And he isn't even at the full power of All Might, so there's no reason to say that he's fully scalable to someone like Gigantomachia. Also, Miles' arsenal was far more exceedingly, how do I say this, better fitting for a fight, as he has camouflage, projectile, and full agility over Deku. And with better strength, speed, agility, and durability, Miles might just have taken the crown from the future symbol of peace. Maybe Deku will perform better in the future and maybe even win, but for now, Miles consistently proves that he's much more powerful. So, the winner is Miles Morales. On the next episode of Character War, we've got Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, versus Leon Kennedy, the top agent from Resident Evil. I hope you guys enjoy. Always be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.